everybody. Thank you for being here for our signature sales meeting. I'm sorry we were out last week. I missed one. And so I heard that Vandana and Todd did an amazing job at sharing with you some of the fun things that happen to realtors that don't do the right thing, right? The open house is always a good time. So today we've got a special meeting for you. We're actually going to go through the buyer presentation, and we're going to get a lot of feedback. I want you guys to be interactive with this from other people that are using a buyer presentation in order to get a buyer committed to purchasing with them. And right now, just show of hands, who here has had a struggle with getting a buyer property? Ironically, only 3 hands went up, but I heard a room full of laughter. I know all of you are struggling with that, right? So that's why maybe you just don't care anymore. It's been so long. But we're going to talk about that today and have some good conversation around it. Before we do that, with the shortage of available listings, who here has a listing that they want to share with the group? Mark.
I have a really awesome luxury property in Red Rock. It's on Red Arrow, very prestigious street. It has a double fairway view, has a casita over 5,000 square feet, and the seller is selling it turnkey. All the furniture, all the art, and all the exercise equipment, including a Peloton.
Wow.
It's a beautiful house. It does need a little updating, but the lot is priceless. And it's listed for 3.2.
3.2. 3.2?
3.2.
Okay, I'll get some stamps together.
Does it have a strip view?
Does that have a strip view?
Not a strip. I'm sorry, mountain and double fairway. And
Double fairway and the mountain behind it.
Yeah.
And they light up the mountain at night.
Yeah, they light up the mountain at night.
Yeah. So tell me another place that does that.
Right. Right.
Okay. Really?
Got a great vacant piece of land, a little more than 3/4 of an acre on North Jones at Tropical for $299,900.
Wow, that's awesome. Build that home you've always wanted. Who else?
Okay, I've got a home up in Hampton Highlands for $750,000. It's got a beautiful pool. Been kind of updated, sort of. To some people's standards. But it's nice. And then I've also got a property out on Campbell and Lone Mountain. It's $800,000. It sits on a full acre. It's got a home with a guest house attached to it. And I've also got
How much is that?
oh, I'm sorry, that was $800,000. And I've also got $2.5 million inside of Southern Highlands. 5 bedroom, 5 bath.
I didn't know where he was going with that. I was a little worried.
I got a condo.
So
the condo's gone.
I do want to congratulate Adam. Adam had the worst deal I've ever seen on a condo. And so it just tells you the path to hell is paved with good intentions. And this guy worked his butt off for this client. Client absolutely appreciate him.
Actually, your wife worked her butt off.
Sure. Don't tell her that. I gotta live with her. But congratulations for getting that deal done. That was a hard deal.
I have one that's going to go live this week. It's off of Lamb and Craig, so up by the Speedway. About $500,000. We have set a set price of either $490,000, $500,000, somewhere around there. 5 bedroom, 3 bath, 3,077 square feet. Off Carla and 3949 Carla.
What about lot size? Lot size?
Bigger than some of the others.
I don't have it up, but I can tell you in 2 seconds here. Lot
That's
size.
offline. I might have some. This is big live. I might have some.
Anyone else? Did I miss anyone else? Anyone else? New listing?
No, I just have a buyer, wants to do 1031 exchange up to $5 million.
Buyer for 1031 up to $5 million.
4 plus with strip view.
Strip view. You can 3.2. You can get half of it done right there.
Yeah.
You just can't see the strip in there. I have one in Lake Las Vegas. I'm going live with today in South Shore. It's 3,500 square feet, absolutely decked out. They even added a massive enclosed room off the backyard because they needed more space. We're going live at $1,850,000. You sell that house and it'll be your best friend. Anybody else? Nope? Okay, great. Jason, we're going to talk to Jason today from Prosperity. Give Jason a round of applause. Thank you very much. So we asked Jason if he would break down for us did you make this yourself? Wow. We wanted him to break down from the lender's perspective the entire loan process, and so Jason did that in this nice handout. So we're going to hand those out. Jason, talk to us about the process.
Sure. Yeah, I'm going to start here and let it pass around.
Yeah, I figured that'd be much simpler. I could go on this for about the next 30 minutes, and I've got about 3, so I'm going to give you obviously the condensed version of the story, basically. What we want to do is, at least I can speak for myself, basically, not as a company, but for myself on this, is that I like to do an initial, at least, interview with somebody. I don't really like the online application. Do we have that technology? Absolutely. But when people fill out the online application, a lot of times what they will do is they'll put what they think we want to hear versus what we actually want to hear. We are really, think of us almost like attorneys. We are the defense attorney. We are on their side. Our job is to try to make it look as wonderful as possible for the underwriter. And the underwriter is not exactly the prosecuting attorney. They're not the ones that are our enemy, but they're the ones that are supposed to look at it with concern. They're supposed to look at it and go, yeah, but, yeah, but, yeah, but. And our job is to answer the yeah, but. So what we like to do is at least do an initial consultation so we can find out all the things that could possibly be a little bit sketchy with the situation. Now, this is Vegas. So in Vegas, it's very rare that we have an 800 credit score with 25% down with a job where somebody's been working 15 years. There is something wrong with just about every single person that we talk to. 9 out of 10, if not closer to 10 out of 10. Our job is to find out what that thing is, basically. Once we find out what that thing is, we can try to spin it and try to make it so that it's okay, or we can figure out if it's something that we just can't get past. But the initial consultation is essential for us, just like as you'll learn today, it's essential for you. It's finding out everything that we can from the borrower. From there, it's pretty much what's on the sheet. It's pretty self-explanatory. We gather up all their information, we take an app, we run credit, we figure out what their debt-to-income ratio is, we get a pre-qual letter, we send everything up to underwriting, we get the appraisal ordered. It's everything you probably could guess of what it's going to be. But the beginning, again, fitting with the theme of today, is really the most important part. That first 15 minutes that we can spend with the client, it is vital. And then last part too is a lot of times I understand how this market works. Sometimes they find a place before they find a lender. Well, go, go, go. All I ask you is at least give me that 15 minutes so I can talk with the customer. We'll get to your letter, we'll get everything fast, but just let us talk to them first. So check that sheet out. If you have any questions, of course, let us know, and thank you for your time. Jason, before you leave, just real quick, so it used to be a rule of thumb for most agents that have been here longer than 15 years that, you know, if we have a client, the things we would ask them is, have you filed taxes recently to show that you have income? You don't need that anymore because there's programs out there that don't even require tax returns.
Yeah,
right?
yes and no. Yeah.
It used to be, do you have a job and does it provide you with income? That's still a requirement, right?
That is.
Okay.
Well, actually not. If they're retired, if it's Social Security and pension, those kind of things, we can take that.
See? So what you used to do may not be what you need to do now. So there's a bunch of new programs and things that we have out.
And that, you said it perfectly, is that there's so many products that instead of pigeonholing somebody and saying they can or they can't based on your past experience, like Chris said, there's so much going on. At least throw them to us and let us scrub them first. Maybe we'll agree and be like, yeah, no, we can't do that. But maybe be like, hey, just want to let you know we do have this new product. We actually can give this a shot. So it's worth us always talking to somebody. I've had people go, oh my gosh, I apologize for giving you such a bad lead. That's just not true. We're not digging a ditch. We're not working here. We're literally having a conversation. If anybody thinks that they're pained or that they've been put out because they've had a conversation, you need to work with somebody else. I mean, it's just a conversation. We're not working here.
So one of the things I've noticed too about Prosperity and Shelley and Tony and you and the others, you guys have been willing to take a buyer who's not qualified yet and get them qualified ready. And so what does it look like from your perspective when you do that? I mean, what's kind of the process?
The process is very similar. It's just for what we do is we kind of have to take it one step further then, of course. Let's say we have a situation where the credit is bad. Then what we have to do is we have to figure out how bad. Sometimes we can do it ourselves. So we have the software where it's, hey, you do steps A, B, and C, we'll get your credit score up, we can help with that. Sometimes it's really bad, and sometimes we have to take it to a credit counselor person and have them work it out. We have ones that are out there that are like 99 bucks a month, they're month to month, they don't set them up for a long term, they can quit any time, and they can build them. But what we try to do, obviously, is try to work that person's credit up, see what we can do to fix it, and get it where it needs to be.
Very cool. Any questions for Jason? Chickens. All right, Jason, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Give Jason a round of applause. It's not easy to do. Before I go on, I'm getting the look from Janet. Janet has a few announcements, so no refunds.
I didn't want you to forget.
I didn't forget.
Okay, just a reminder, the LVR General Membership Luncheon is Friday, starting at 11 o'clock at the Four Seasons. If you didn't make your reservation, sorry you missed out. Reservations closed yesterday. But if you did make reservations, we will have some reserve tables. I have no idea how many people are going. So here's the rule though, even though the table will say signature on it, if somebody else wants to sit there, you cannot refuse them. That's the rule, but if you get there early enough, we do have reserved seats. Next thing, are you under 40?
Yes. 2 more years.
Did you turn 40 after December 31st of 2022? If you did, if you answer yes to all of those, please fill out an application for Who's Who under 40. To my knowledge, I've had one person who said, can you get this for me? I need it for my application. And last year we had, how many winners? I don't even remember. A lot. But you can't get the award if you don't turn in an application. And the deadline is Friday. So if you need an application, come see me. Jason.
2 cents on that. I've been on that board for like 8 years now. Very rarely do they even get 40 applications. So if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I tried, but I probably won't win, really good chance you'll win. So if you fill out an application, it's a good idea.
What's the minimum requirements to get it? Like,
There are no minimums. It depends on how many people apply. And it's not just production. You might have really not good production, but you've been very active in the community, you volunteered, you contributed to RPAC, you're on committees. That puts you ahead of someone who did like 15 million. So it's a whole thing. The only thing I will caution you is 1 year I was on the selection committee.
I didn't get it that year.
And we threw out like 30 applications because they lied. If you lie on your application, it goes in the garbage, and they all lied about the same thing. Because everything is checked. LVR has all those records. They lied about their contributions to our investments to RPAC. We can check that. Okay, next thing, bowling. I have to tell you, I'm a little disappointed. The LVR Community Outreach Committee is having their bowling tournament April 1st. We've had one every year for like 17 years. It's a fun time. There's no mask wearing this year. And it's only $25. We want to make a statement. We want to network. We want to get to know each other. We want to have fun. April 1st, 9 to 12. Please sign up. And you're not registered unless I have your $25. Sunset Station, 9 to noon.
April 1st, correct?
April 1st, Friday. Friday. So I have tons of applications. After this meeting, please see me, give me your $25. Okay, that's all I have. Any questions?
Yay, Janet.
Thank you.
Don't strike out with Janet. Make sure and sign up for the bowling tournament. I was thinking about that one all day. Okay, so I started the meeting off by saying that we're in a market that is a what type of market? And how long has it been this way? Seems like forever, right? And so what I still find really interesting about this market is agents are still taking buyers out that have a very slim chance of getting a property, and you're probably having to write 5, 6, 7, maybe even 25 offers to get this buyer selected, and agents are still doing it without first having a buyer consultation to tell them about the market, and second, without getting a buyer broker agreement. And so what I'm going to do today is I wouldn't ask you to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. And so believe it or not, I have a buyer consultation. Now here's what's interesting about me. Last year I represented 7 buyers. Ask me how many houses I showed. 0. Because I have amazing people that are great at showing houses. What am I good at? BS, that's right. So I am good at the presentation because I've spent a lifetime perfecting it. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to ask an unknowing person, Lizette, to come up and be my mock buyer, right? So let's welcome up Lizette. Well, I'll give you one later. Don't worry about it. You'll get it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through with you what a presentation will look like for me and the questions that I ask. And at the end of this, I have some printed, and I have some that I can give you through the app. So if you want my questionnaire list, you can absolutely use it. After I get done doing my presentation and grilling Lizette on some questions about hers, we're going to bring up a real pro, and we're going to ask Monica to share a little bit about her presentation that she works with the buyer. Now, during this presentation, I'm going to stop multiple times and explain why I do things and the reason behind it. I want you to feel free to ask any questions you want. If something I do doesn't make sense to you, that's okay. I don't really care what you think. No, I'm just kidding. I want to know your questions. I want you to ask them because here's the deal. If you're taking out buyers and you're not selling them and you're not putting them under contract, what are you doing? Yeah, and at $5 a gallon right now, does anyone want to waste more gas? Right? And it's only going up. So it's important that you do it right the first time. Okay, so if you're doing this in person and you meet your buyer at the office, buyer walks into the conference room, sits down at the table, where do you sit? I'm going to tell you that this sounds like a funny question. You sit in the chair, right? But the point is, which chair? If I sit directly across from a buyer, are we in an adversarial position?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to be in an adversarial position with your buyer? No. And so I have a rule of thumb. I sit at the right hand of power. Now, if you have two people in a presentation, how do you tell which one's in charge? You ask the wife. That's right. Right? I don't care what the husband thinks. No, but the point is that you usually will be able to tell. And I'm funny, right? When you have to be good, you have to be funny. You have to tell who the dominant decision maker is because you need to know the person that's going to decide which house they're going to buy. Have you ever had the person that wasn't the dominant decision maker with you that never bought anything? I have. The kid that comes into town and says, yeah, I'm looking to buy a house, my parents said they would help me. And you show them houses all over town and you finally find the one to write on, and the mom and dad come into town and say, we're not buying that house, that's a horrible house. Was that a good decision for you to take that buyer out? No, absolutely not, right? But for me, when I sit down with a buyer, I want to sit next to them because I'm their advocate. I want to sit to her right because we're making this decision together. I'm supporting her together, and we're going to be going out and doing this together. And so I want her to feel that way. And it all starts with that. Did you know that there's subtle things that a buyer will do or a client will do to tell you how they feel? If I stand up and I look at you and my feet are pointed towards you, it means I'm engaged in what you're saying. If my feet are pointed away from you and I'm staring at you like this, where do I want to go?
Anywhere else?
I want to leave. If I have 1 foot pointed at you and 1 foot pointed away, that's called hokey pokey. The point is, these are the jokes I wrote last night, so you better laugh at every one. The point is that if I pay attention to those things and I notice that about my client, could I cater what I'm saying to them, right? Even your hand gestures and the things you do show dominance or weakness. And that's the point, right? Okay, Lizette. Yes. You're my new buyer. I'm so excited. I got you off of a sign on one of my properties because signs work, right? Okay, my first question. This is the entire motivation of why she's here. Lizette, tell me, why have you decided to enter the market at this time to buy a home?
I'm just tired of paying rent.
Okay, anyone have that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Here's what's really surprising to me. I've asked multiple people, why is your buyer buying a home? I know they just thought it was a good idea. Is that enough for you to decide whether they're the right client to work with?
no.
Why do I need to know this? Motivation. Now, motivation is a sales word, and what I like about motivation, that if I understand your complete motivation, and I know why you're doing something, I can remind you throughout the process why you said you wanted to do this. Have you ever had a buyer decide in the middle of the process, I don't really know I want to do this? Right? Now, if I just ask her that question, why did you decide to enter the market? She says, because I'm tired of paying rent. Is that enough? Tell me more about that.
Well, I just heard that, I'm paying somebody else's mortgage, so I figured I might as well jump into it and pay my own.
Okay? So at least if I drill down just a little bit more, Keith Lynham at his presentation that he did asked the same question 7 levels deep. And what he noticed after he got to the 7th level, that's way too much to do with the buyer, by the way, right here. But the point is, as we took down those layers of the onion, you found out more and more and more. I would probably go down the road with her of another 2 or 3 layers. Tell me about the rent that you're paying. How long have you been in the property? What do you like about the home that you're in? What do you not like? How has the experience been about renting the property? Everyone always have a good rental experience? No, it's not always great. I mean, when you get a great property manager that takes care of you and takes care of the property, it's a good experience. But if I know that it's a crap experience, can I use that as motivation to remind them why they're doing it? Absolutely. Here's one question that I noticed that no one ever asks. Where did she say she was doing right now on a property? She was renting. Lizette, before we go on, do you own any other properties?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do.
You would be stunned at the amount of tenants that own rental properties. They have land that they inherited from a family member. They own properties out of state. Why do I want to know that? Because I sell properties. I had a listing presentation on an expired listing. I went in and met the guy. And from the moment I walked in the front door, I lost the listing. It was 4 hours later when I left the house. And this guy literally took me on a tour. I thought I was going to be captive and someone was going to find me down the road, right? And I did not get the listing. And I asked him 7 times to list with me. But you know what I did get? I listed his vacant piece of land out on Durango because during the presentation I asked him, do you own any other properties? And I got to tell you, my competitors, my friends that I know, are calling on the phone, leaving voicemails on his answering machine. I'm the only one that got that listing because I asked this question. And so the other thing that's important about this is, if I have that property and it's free and clear, you think in this market you need extra money to be able to buy the home here? Absolutely. So now I know about this property she has and any other properties, which is a good thing. Lizette, based on that, do you need to sell any other properties or liquidate any funds at all to be able to purchase this home?
I have a retirement funds that I might need to dip into, just depending on what price point I'm looking at.
Okay, fantastic. We'll get to that in a minute. So the point I asked that is that a lot of people have investment accounts. And so can you just cash that out in a day and get that money?
No.
How long does it take on average?
Couple weeks.
Couple weeks. Every time that you're in this scenario, right, you're cashing out that investment account when you have 5 days to close escrow. And that's not a good thing. And so right now, I would make the decision with Lizette, is she ready to be out buying right now, or does she need to liquidate those funds? Do we need to find out the details around it? And we need to make sure that's seasoned in her bank account possibly, right? Let's say if it's cash under a mattress. I had a lady walk into my office one day, and she's about this tall, and I said, I need proof of funds, and she says, okay. So we walk out to her car, and she opens the trunk, and there's a box full of money. I'm not kidding, this is a true story, and I thought, oh my God, this lady's a drug dealer, right? She's selling cookies and crack. And so, yeah, right? And so I said, I can't take cash to an escrow company, we need to put this in a bank account. She goes, oh, I had no idea. I've just been saving up my money for the last 30 years, and fine. But we had to take it to a bank, and teller's face was funnier than mine, right? But we had to put it into a bank account to do that, but it's important. All right, number 4. Now this is Vegas, like Jason said, but this is important. Lizette, does anyone owe you money, or is there any other person out there that would loan you funds to make this purchase?
I have some family members that owe me some money, but I'm not really sure whether or not I can tap into them for that.
Great. There may become a chance in this purchase where you're asked to go above and beyond the purchase price. And so if we know that you have additional funds, it might be good to line those funds up now so that it's not a mystery then. Can you see how that would help you?
Yeah, I can see it. I'd rather not go that path though.
Right? No one would. But the whole point is that if I know that she has a relative that will co-sign for her, or a relative that will offer her some money for down payment assistance, does that help me in structuring the deal?
Sure.
Now the reason I asked the question, does anyone owe you money? Is it easy to get money from people that owe it to you? No, but if I find out someone owes her 50 grand, I'm not going to become a bill collector, but I may advise her, Lizette, this is your primary home. This is the home you're going to live in. It might be worth it for you to, go after those funds and get that to be able to make this purchase. Number 5, and this is when you've lost that client because they weren't the decision maker. Lizette, will you be the only buyer in the purchase?
Yep.
Okay, so she said that pretty quickly. I don't know. But the whole point is, a lot of times we meet with one buyer not knowing that there's another, right? And if Lizette's married, or Lizette has a significant other that's going to be part of the decision making, or because I find out that she needs a co-signer, do you want to take one buyer all over town finding property? No. I've made that mistake multiple times, and it never ended well for me, right? You finally find the perfect home that they've been searching for, and now I don't have both people there to make the decision. Okay, Lizette, following up to that, who else would be in the decision-making process for you buying a home? Is there a relative, a family member, a kid, anyone else that we should know about that will be part of it?
Yeah.
Who would that be?
You have to know that?
Yeah.
My fiance.
Fiance, okay, fantastic. Wow, congratulations, you have a fiance. He's sitting right there. So the reason I asked this question is I've had a relative show up at the perfect house and kill the entire deal, right? Because they're not really a buyer, but everything that they say is part of her decision-making process. right? They're an influencer and not the YouTube good kind. And so the other point I want to make is it's not just about the buyers being in the room, but if there's a relative that they get advice from, or that family member that's a realtor that doesn't sell any houses, should I know about it now during the presentation, or when we go to buy the property?
Now.
Now, right? Does this all make sense so far?
Yeah.
So I'm 6 questions in. Do you know this much about your buyer right now that you've been out showing property to?
Yes.
Yeah, you feel good about it? Okay. Number 7, Lizette, you mentioned it before, but do you have a 401k or any retirement funds that you could utilize?
I do,
You do, fantastic. And are you able to provide proof of funds for those funds?
absolutely.
Great. Did you know that you can use your 401k to purchase a primary residence?
Yes.
Right? Is that pretty helpful and impactful if we're out competing? And my client is cash poor, but retirement rich? Right? Do you know a lot of people have hundreds of thousands of dollars in their retirement accounts and they never think about it because it comes out of their paycheck and goes somewhere else? But you have the ability to use those funds to purchase a primary. And right now, if they're asking to go to $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 above the list price to be competitive, that's money she can tap into.
Hey, Chris, on that, like I've had a couple of my clients where that was their determining factor of us being able to tap into it to get them to close. Even with my sister, that was like, she had a bunch of money there and I was like, look, if you do this, you can own this. And that's what we did, and like, she didn't even have a clue.
Yeah. All right, number 8 is, does your employer, yeah, please.
Really quick, just because it's almost like financial planning, so you gotta be very careful not to tread into that realm, because that's outside the scope of your license. So have, like, when you are giving them that advice of the 401k, right, make sure you speak with your financial planner to see if that's the right decision for you in your future, right?
Yep.
Because you don't wanna be like, yeah, let's go get that money and we put it in
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
oh, you can be an owner, and now you're outside the scope.
So for the people at home, Vonna's point is you're not a financial planner, so you want to make sure you don't give financial advice or tax advice. You know what you need to know to go through the process and say you could use that for a down payment, but I'm not going to advise you on how to cash it out or how to take the money or what your tax consequences are going to be. I'm just pointing out that you can use it to purchase a home, right? But I'm not your financial planner. This one's important because no one ever thinks of this and it drives me crazy. Lizette, does your employer, number 1, know you're buying a home, and do they offer any incentives for you to purchase said home?
Do they have to know that I'm buying a home?
They don't have to know, but what I've come to find out is many Fortune 500 companies and many under Fortune 500 companies will give an incentive to have a stable employee in a marketplace, meaning that they want you to be happy and living in the place where you work. And so have you asked your HR at all if they offer an incentive?
I haven't. That's actually really good information, Chris, because I had no idea.
My cousin worked for a casino chain that didn't have any casinos in Las Vegas, but their corporate offices were here. And so I reached out to her and I said, hey, you may want to check with your HR department, number 1, and just let them know that you're looking at buying a home here in Las Vegas, and you're going to be here for a period of time, and see if they offer any incentives. They offer 1% that she can use for anything that she wants in the purchase of the transaction, and they'll pay for all of her moving expenses. And this is a small casino corporation. Pretty much every Fortune 500 company out there has some incentive. And if they find out later that you didn't ask them about that because you didn't care enough to know it, could that be a problem? Now, if they find out their employer does offer something, are you a hero? Now, here's the one thing you need to be careful of. Many of the bigger companies offer a relocation process that actually assigns an agent to help them with the relocation. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is you want to be ahead of that and you want to say, listen, if you do find out that they offer relocation, please let them know that I'm the agent you signed an agreement with because they may try to assign you with an agent.
Chris, my son, he was 21 years old and he was approved, he just DTI, that was the problem. I said, have you talked to your boss and let him know that you're buying a house? He goes, no, I haven't. I go talk to him. I go, you've been there 2 years, he likes you, and see if he could let him know what you're going through. So he talked to him, his boss gave him a raise, which offset the DTI, and he's been in the house ever since.
Wow. That's awesome. So the story was his son went to his employer and said, I'm buying a house. He had an issue with DTI, debt to income ratio, and his boss gave him a raise to cover the difference so that he qualified for the loan. That's a great story from that. I have multiple buyers where their employer gave them their down payment and they took it out from their paychecks later. But the whole thing is, do businesses want stable employees? Yeah, they want people that show up for work and that aren't hungover like me or any of those other things. So, but the whole point is that they're incentivized to help you get through that. Okay, so number 9 is the big one. We've gone through 8 questions, and I haven't even brought up their loan or if they're paying cash. And so, Lizette, I would ask you the question, do you want to pay cash for the home, or would you like to get a loan?
I think I'm gonna go with the loan.
Okay, perfect. Now, the reason I phrase that way is predominantly the majority of people I'm working with are not paying cash. But does it make you feel good that I said, do you want to pay cash or get a loan? The people that I didn't expect to have cash had a lot of it, and who am I to judge? Right? And so I always phrase the question in a positive way because I've been pleasantly surprised by the answer. And so she said she wanted to get a loan. If they said cash, great. That's fantastic. I need to get a proof of funds for the funds that you're going to use to purchase this property so that we can prove to the seller that you have the money to close escrow. A lot of times what I'm seeing as a broker is that you're not telling them about this, you're not asking for a proof of funds, and they're upset when you say that you want a bank statement or something to show the other party that they have to have funds in their account showing that they can make the purchase. Do you want to find out things the day of, or do you want to be prepared for them? You want your buyer prepared for them, right? Okay, so you're getting a loan. Do you have a lender you'd like to work with?
Well, I was kind of hoping that you'd be able to point me in that right direction.
Oh, I love it when they say that. The reason why I have to ask the question, do you have a lender you want to work with, is I don't steer people to a lender. I think Jason's great. I think Shelly's great. I think Prosperity has changed my life.
Yeah.
But I don't do loans as a business. I sell houses. And so who's buying the house? She is. And it's whose money? It's hers. And who's making the mortgage payment? Sure the hell ain't gonna be me. And so my point is that she gets to make all the decisions, but I know good people like good people, right? And so she said, I'd like you to refer me to somebody. So do I just give her Jason's info and say, this is the person I use? You should always give a minimum of 3. You want to give resources. Here's the other thing. Are there lenders that have certain programs that other lenders don't?
Yeah.
There are. And are there lenders that have stepped in and saved a deal and you feel that you owe them at least the opportunity of a chance?
Yes.
There are. The big difference in my presentation is I'm going to give her 4 to 5 lenders. It's just the size of the print font. Right? I provided the information, but I did asterisk next to the Prosperity because I use them on my personal transaction. And they meant something personally to me, but I presented all the options so that she can make the decision. Here's how deep this goes. I come to find out one time because someone was trying to sway a buyer to a certain loan program. The buyer worked for a lender. They worked for a bank that they got their paycheck from. And you're trying to shove them to some other lender. Do you think that ended well?
But how do you not know that?
Because you have to ask the
conversation.
question.
One thing
Right?
I'd add though,
Jason?
the majority, and I've been in the business for 23 years, the majority of people that work for a lender don't like to use that lender for their mortgage.
True that, they've been harmed at the workplace, so that's why
They also don't want them to know their personal financial stuff, so. don't
That's
assume
absolutely
because
true.
they're working for a lender that they're going to go with that lender. 7 out of 10 won't, actually.
I love that he said that, but again, who's making that decision?
They are.
The buyer.
They are, right? I don't want to be the one causing waves. Okay, perfect. So once you get with the lender, we're going to need what they call a pre-approval letter. And so that pre-approval letter is going to show everybody your ability to purchase. And can you understand the value of having that letter when we present an offer?
Well, but it's just a letter.
I know, right? The whole point behind it is that we're in a market that is fierce with competition. And the more work that we can do now to prepare you to be able to purchase that home and show the seller your ability to purchase, the less likely we are to compete on that. And so I need to give you the best shot possible. Let's make sure we get that letter from your lender to present that.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, now we get real down into the nitty-gritty. Lizette, have you viewed any other homes in person since you started this process?
Well, yeah, I kind of walked through some just to kind of get some ideas.
Oh, I hate when they say that. So only an idiot, and I'm sorry, an idiot is the best term, would believe that this person just showed up and met them today and that's when their real estate life started, right? But I can't tell you how many people actually believe that. You think that that person walked into your open house and it was the first time they've ever been to one, right? It's not the truth. She's been out looking for months. It could have even been years. And do I need to know that she's been looking at homes?
Yeah.
Why?
Okay.
Okay, so what?
Showed the same house as somebody else has shown her already.
Okay, so depending on who she met along the way and what's happened, this could be a tainted buyer.
Tainted.
Tainted. What does that word mean to you?
Watch out.
There could be some issues, right? Lizette, let me be really clear. Have you gone to any open houses since you started the process?
Yeah, Saturday afternoon, I see a sign and make a turn.
Gotcha. That's what every buyer's doing, by the way, in the process. Do you have any record of the ones that you visited or know which addresses you looked at?
I may have a business card or two.
Great.
Not really sure.
Okay, fantastic. If we happen upon a home that you've already seen, I need to know about that in advance because there could be some issues with the listing agent or the agent that held the open house, and I just want to clear those up so you don't have any issues at all.
Oh, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. You make it seem like it's a real serious deal.
You know, it's not a real serious deal, but I do want to make sure that there's no ambiguity between your ability to purchase that property and someone else trying to jump in front of you and take your opportunity.
Okay.
Cool. Are you currently working with any other realtors besides me?
Well, I sat down and talked to somebody the other day, but it was just in passing. It was a referral from a friend. My friend was like, hey, you should talk to so-and-so.
Oh, okay. How did that conversation go?
Well, I can tell you they weren't quite asking as many questions as you are.
They met a realtor that didn't ask any questions. Have any of you met a realtor that didn't ask any questions? So the reason I ask this is the are you cheating on me question, right? I've had one buyer sign 7 buyer broker agreements. Why do you think they did that?
They want to see houses.
They want to see houses. That's number one. They just want to get out and see houses. They don't care, you know, because they don't think it means anything, and you didn't ask them any questions, so what does it matter anyway, right? But what could they be liable for? Possibly. I don't know. I wasn't even going to litigate it, right? Because I mean, you've signed 7 buyer broker agreements. This is not the client for me. By the way, who's interviewing who? I've asked all the questions, so I'm interviewing her, right? And that's the point of this. I don't work with every buyer. Sometimes it's best to refer, and there could be reasons for that.
7 agents didn't do the job explaining what the buyer broker agreement was.
That's the whole point.
Cited something that didn't explain it.
Now here's what's happened in this that's kind of interesting. I've had them say, well, I have a family member that's a realtor that's providing me some advice, right? You guys remember the old joke, cop pulls a guy over and says, hey, give me your real estate license. The guy looks at the cop and says, don't you mean my driver's license? He's like, not everyone has one of those, right? But that's the point. Almost everybody knows. These are good jokes. Not everyone out there understands what we do, and pretty much everyone is related or knows a realtor somewhere else. And the question is, why are you here instead of them? And it's because she was referred to somebody or something happened. I want to know about this now, because what do you think is going to happen with that realtor along the process? They're going to show up somewhere like a bad penny, right? But what are they also going to be telling her?
That they need to go with them, not you.
Yeah, they're going to be trying to sway her the entire time. But everything I do, and they're not supposed to do this, but everything I do, they're going to scrutinize. And they're going to say, oh, I wouldn't have done that. Oh, I would never make you sign an agreement. That's crazy. But that's what she's hearing. If I know that there's another realtor involved that's giving her advice, I can be preemptive about it and be very courteous about them while making sure that she understands I'm the real expert, right? By the way, my nephew went out to purchase a house. Who did they go with? His wife's friend, right? Okay, I wasn't his wife's friend, that's my mistake. I am now. They go out and they offer on a property. He calls me up and he says, hey, this agent's helping us buy a home. That's when I wanted to strangle him, right? But it's my fault, by the way, because I was not communicating with him on a regular basis to find out he was out to buy, right? And I said, listen, I love you. I wish I could have helped you. You didn't call and I didn't call you, but I cannot provide you any more advice. You're in an agency relationship with that realtor. If it doesn't go through, if the deal doesn't happen, let me know. What do you think happened? Didn't go through. And who did you call?
You.
Me. His wife's other friend. Funny enough, the deal didn't go through. He called me up and I said, now, let me help you through this process. We did, and we sold him a house. But the point was, I couldn't interject myself in that because I'm an ethical quality realtor, but a lot of people would have just been bad-mouthing everything that agent did. I'm not that person. I don't need the deal that bad.
Can't do that.
Can't do that. Okay, so I asked you, are you currently working with any other realtors? You said you had a friend that you met with, you referred to, great, but now you're sitting here with me, so I have all the opportunity. Lizette, before we go any further, since you've met some other realtors, since you've been to some open houses, have you signed any other agreements with any other agent?
No, I haven't signed anything.
That's all I need to know. If she's not signed any other agreements, I have the complete opportunity to work with this buyer.
What if I said, well, what do you mean by signing an agreement?
Oh, I hate when they say that. There would have been a document that the agent would have had you sign that was for a length of time for representation on the purchase of a home. Now, this would have been about a 3-page document. I'm sure they would have given you a copy of it, and it would have dictated the terms of which they would represent you and how they would be compensated. Do you remember signing an agreement like that?
No, I remember like a one-page thing, maybe.
Okay.
Something about,
Duties owed, right? Okay, great. Now, let's go down the road of what happens if she did sign an agreement. What would I do at this point? Thanks for coming. Say again? Probably the one-page agreement that she signed. Here's what I could do. Number of ways I can go down this road. Lizette, listen, thank you so much for coming over, and I appreciate that you engaged my services, because she did engage my service. I didn't solicit her the other way around, right? I can't help you if you're under an agreement with another agent unless we figure that agreement out, because I don't want you liable for 2 commissions. And what I mean by that is that agent has an agreement with you that on anything you buy, you may owe them a commission. And so what I'd like to do is pause our interview right now. I'd like to find out the details of that and make sure that you're not making a bad business decision, because that is what you're hiring me for. You're hiring me to help you make good business decisions. Do you by chance have that agreement anywhere that we can look at?
it might be in my email.
Perfect. Why don't you grab that email, we'll set up another time, we'll go through that process.
We don't have to, I can grab it from my phone.
Oh, that's technology for you. Great. So we review the document, we look at it. Now here's the difference. She now wants to work with me, why?
You're awesome.
She's starting to trust me, my haircut, yeah. She's starting to trust me, she believes in the things I'm saying, she sees that I'm a reputable agent. And so what can I do at this point? What do you think I should do, Vonna?
Well, she needs to figure that out with the other agent. So you can't advise her how to do it, because otherwise you're contractually interfering with it.
Exactly the point. Contractual interference, right? So here's what can happen. I have to tell her that we can't work together because she has an agreement with the other agent. And she says, but I want to work with you. You need to go talk with your other broker and see if one of 2 things will happen. Either you need to go forward with them and work with them, or they would have to release you from the agreement. You're going to have to figure that out with them on your own. Because to Vanna's point, if I go doing it, I'm now interfering in that other agent's agency. Now I am going to tell you that I have negotiated referral fees with that other agent that has disengaged this buyer. They have literally left them for dead, and they don't want to work with them. And so this client has come back and said, you know what, I can't get them on the phone, they won't return my phone calls, they won't help me out. So who do they go to at that point? They go to the broker, right? The other agent has a broker. It's probably the agent they were working with, but still they have a broker, right? And so now the whole point is that she could negotiate those terms out with them, and I'd be happy to pay a referral fee to have a great quality client. And this has happened. And I've been on the phone with the other broker who has called and said, hey, the buyer said that they met an agent at your office, they want to work with them, but we have an agreement in place, and we've worked out a referral fee so that their agent got compensated, and they decided not to work with them. It happens. It's happened before.
How far can you go if you don't have an agreement? Like, for instance, you're on the phone with someone, or say they talked to somebody, but they didn't present an agreement, they didn't present anything, they want to work with you, but they're still kind of feeling like, well, I did talk to that other person. How far can you go as an agent to solidify that?
I love that you said that, because you know that they don't have an agreement because they said they didn't, right? So you don't know of another one. And so what do you think that's at the end of my questions? Just wait, we'll get there. Okay, so Lizette, I really appreciate your time, the answers to all of these questions. It's really helped me a lot to understand what your goals are and what you're looking to do. And today, if we agree to work together, I need you to commit to me one thing. And I want to make sure that you can commit to this. Can you agree not to see any other properties, go to any open houses, or go to any new home sites without me from this point on?
Wow, you're serious, aren't you?
I'm really serious. And let me tell you why. The reason I don't want you to do this is we're going to talk about my representation agreement. And if you go to any of those other properties without me, they are not going to pay me a commission, and so you would have to pay me those funds yourself. I don't want you to incur that cost twice.
Neither do I.
Okay, perfect. So can we agree that you're not going to see any other people?
So if I'm driving down the street and I see a sign and I want to go there,
Call me.
and you'll be there with me?
Just think of it as a sign. Call me.
Oh God, okay. All
Exactly.
right, I will make that deal with you.
Perfect. And let me be frank. I will make myself available because you're committing to me that I will be there to show you any of those properties. And luckily for me, I work at an incredible company full of incredible people. And if I'm out of town or vacationing in Tahiti, someone from my office will be there to show you that property.
Okay.
Would you guys all support me in that?
Yeah, sure.
Right? You just want a referral fee, I can tell in your eyes. So Lizette, based on what you're saying and everything that's going on, I just want to understand from you your commitments and things that are going on in your life. If you were to give me a best time, what would be the best times for you to see property, if you were to think about it right now?
Typically, any day during the week after about 3,
Okay, perfect. Any time during the week after about 3.
except for Sundays.
How late can you show a property on a lockbox?
8.
8 o'clock, so we got a 5-hour window. That'll be fun. Okay, great. Can you tell me why it's only after 3? Is it because of your job, your work schedule?
Yeah.
Would you be able to put in some PTO time and we could take a few days off and go find the right house?
Yeah, I guess so.
Have you ever asked a buyer to take off work to go find property?
One time.
But they ask you to take off work to go find property, don't they? The whole point is that, think about this seriously. If I know that her schedule's like that and we really can't get to enough properties and we really can't see the right homes, would you take vacation time to find the home? Yeah, you would. So what would it hurt for me to schedule in some vacation for her so that we're there all day? Now, the whole thing is, if I do that, do I have to be committed to her for that time?
Yes.
Absolutely, and it's funny, agents don't do that. Hey, Lizette, before we go to my agreement, do you have any other questions that I can answer for you before we get there? She doesn't right now, but the whole point is, people get to their agreement and they don't ask them if they have any questions on all of the 16 things I just asked. Would she have some questions?
Yes.
Right? They always do. And so what I want you to realize at this point, the questions that she's about to ask me most likely are the objections she's about to have.
Why do I need to sign this agreement with you?
Oh, I love that you say that. Lizette, would you go to work with no paycheck?
No,
Why not?
because it's my paycheck, I'm working.
Exactly. And so that's why we're going to have an agreement.
But you're a realtor.
This is true stuff, folks. This is the questions on the job that you're getting. Lizette, I appreciate that you asked that. And to be a realtor means that I'm an ethical sales associate. And I don't work with any buyer that I don't have an agreement with. Now, if I say that and I don't do it, I'm a liar. It is my standard of practice that I will not work with a buyer that I don't have an agreement with, because I could spit in a buyer. Are they easy to find right now? Most of them are pissed, but they're easy to find. But the whole point is, I'm committed to the buyers that are committed to me, Lizette, and that's why I work by agreement, because I want you to know that I'm going to show up to work every single day committed to finding you a home. That's the type of agent you want, right?
Absolutely.
Great. That's sales, but the whole point was, I want her to know that that's my commitment level.
You also have to remember, when you said that you're an ethical agent, the Code of Ethics, Article 9 says that you have to have agreements
Yep.
for representation. So it's required.
Love it. It's all support. Now, I did make the joke and say, you know what, I'm committed to you, you're committed to me, we're not cheating on each other. You're not going to open houses without me. But the agreement solidifies that fact. Now, let me just ask you a question. Over the next 5 or 6 days working with this buyer and the 50 offers you're about to write, what are you going to get paid if she never buys anything? So you are the only person in the transaction agreeing to work for free. But who are you agreeing with? If you don't have the agreement, who are you agreeing with? No. You actually are selling nothing to no one. And so the whole point is, Lizette, I can appreciate that you may be a little trepidatious about signing an agreement, as would many people be. Now, how long do we have to make the agreement for? I don't care. Whatever you feel is worth it. It doesn't have to be 1 year. It doesn't have to be 1 day. But if I know that she's a committed buyer that's qualified, that's got an approval letter from Jason, she's looking at property that's out there, we're looking every day, she took time off of work, I could make that agreement just for a week. I could make it for 30 days, because hopefully within 30 days of me working full-time, I'm going to find her house. But the whole point is, we have the agreement for that period of time, but you can make it for whatever you want. And that's just a part of the negotiation. The whole thing about this is you cannot be afraid of negotiation or you'll never get anything done, right? Okay, so number 16 and a half is that I take my duties owed and I slide it across the table and I say, Lizette, I really appreciate you sharing this information with me. And what I need to do now is I need to have you sign my state required duties owed. And what this says is all of the duties that I owe to you and the other parties in the transactions. Now, Lizette, it just so happens that I'm a great listing agent. And I list a lot of properties in the Las Vegas market. Do you want me to go ahead and take those properties off of your showing list?
Why would I let you do that?
I don't know why you would do it either, but it could happen because at the bottom of the page it says, may I or may I not represent both sides? And so, do you believe me to be a good quality ethical agent?
Well, as far as our conversation right now, but what happens if you're representing the other side?
I'm
Are you
glad
still
you
going to be
asked
here
that.
for me?
I'm absolutely going to be here for you. But I already owe a duty to those listing sellers. And so before I enter into this agreement with you, I want to make sure you understand how it works. There could be a chance where I have to represent the interests of both sides. Now, I can't tell you what the seller's willing to take, just like I can't tell the seller what you're willing to pay. So I would stay in the middle and provide information to both of you. But I can tell you over the last 20 years, I've done this a lot, and I've never had a problem. At least I know the guy on the other side.
Okay. I think that's a fair enough deal.
Great. Did you disagree to allow me to represent both sides? Do you have to do that? No. But it's something I do in my business because I list great properties that I want to sell her because she's a buyer, right? And so if I don't get her permission to be able to do that, I already have it from my sellers because it's part of my listing presentation, then I can't show her my listings. You can show her my listings, but I can't show her my listings. So I want to set her up for that.
How does that work with us being on a team? Because isn't that...
You're getting way too deep for the
Okay,
conversation.
sorry.
But the whole point is, she's going to know about my team listings, and so that's the same thing. She's on my team, part of that representation for those sellers, and so that is something that would have to be disclosed and agreeing to have that dual agency. So Lizette, next after my duties out, and I appreciate you signing that, what did I just get her started to do? Sign things, that's important. Below is my representation agreement, and just so you know, I've made it for 30 days. It highlights the commission you're going to pay me, and I will let you know that as we view every property out in the marketplace, I will let you know up front what the commission responsibility will be on your part. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay, go ahead and sign the agreement. Let me know if you have any questions.
Well, you said the commission, but there's this other number here,
Yeah, which number?
and that 895 number.
Oh, I love that you brought that up. Have you ever checked into a hotel?
Yeah,
Okay, and you saw that it was $500 a night for the room?
yeah.
Is that what you actually paid for the room when you got done? That was her fiance, by the way, folks.
No,
No. You notice that they added on a resort fee. What was the resort fee for?
a bunch of stuff I didn't use.
Yeah, you know, that's for the towels and the water, and you turning the air down to 60 because it's not your AC, right? Those are services that are provided in and above the rental fee for the hotel. That's exactly what my transaction fee is. My transaction fee is services that I'm providing to give you the best experience possible in and above my services as a realtor. Does that make sense?
So I'm a little confused on the analogy though.
Sure.
So when I buy a house, you're going to fluff my towels in my bed and turn down my AC.
Wow.
Maybe. In 20 years, I've never had that answer. She's more embarrassed than I am. But the whole point was, analogies are important because they give frame of reference. And the one thing most people lack is a frame of reference, right? I've akin it to something like a doctor's office. You go into a doctor's office, what do they charge you before you meet the doctor? Copay, right? And then 2 hours later, you meet the doctor. And then what do they charge you?
Consult.
Yeah, the rest of it, right? The whole point is people provide funds for great service. My transaction fee is not commission. It's not where I make extra money. It's to cover the cost of the great company I work for. It's to cover the cost of the great transaction coordinator I have. It's to cover the cost of $100 per gallon of gas to go out and show her 10 homes. But it's services in and above my commission. That's what it is. But I like the resort fee analogy because everyone here in Vegas is checked in and think, what the hell is that for, right? Okay, so here's the other thing. I didn't sit and go over every line of my buyer-broker agreement because she's an intelligent individual that knows the questions that are important to her. And if I stand over and say, hey, you didn't ask about my commission, what do you think she's going to do? She's going to ask about my commission. I didn't conceal anything. I did not show her anything. I'm giving her plenty of time, and I'm going to sit here and shut up. It's going to be hard, but I'm going to sit here and shut up for 30 minutes while she reads the agreement. And at the end, she's going to do one of two things. She's going to sign it, or she's going to turn to me and ask more questions. And as she asks me more questions, what am I going to do? Provide more answers. But I'm only going to answer what she is important to her because that's the point. If I start answering things that she didn't ask because I don't know what else to do, what do you think is going to happen? She's going to be like, oh, he's getting nervous. I can sense his fear. Okay? All right, so Lizette, now that we've completed my agreement, I really appreciate your commitment to me, and I guarantee you I'm going to stand behind my commitment to you. Do you understand what's happening in the Las Vegas real estate market?
Well, I heard it's pretty interesting getting a home. More like
That's one way to
tough.
put it. So at this point, and I'm going to save some time here, at this point, I'm going to slide across the most up-to-date current market report to Lizette. And I'm going to explain to her the hell that is the Las Vegas real estate market for a buyer. And I'm going to explain to her the process that we're going to go through. And I'm going to ask and beg her not to get excited about the first property we see, and not to move in her furniture, and not to start calling her friends and saying, I found the house I want. Because is she most likely going to get the first house she sees?
No.
Maybe if she works with me, she will. But the point is that I need to make sure that she's not committed 100% yet, because we may have to go through this several times. And so number 17 on my list is my ability to make my buyer well educated about the things we may have to do. I just had an agent call me last night that said that the other agent on the listing side said that I shouldn't use the word contingency anywhere in my offer. Listing agent said, don't bother sending over anything with a contingency. Should I explain to my buyer what contingencies are and what they're for? Now, who decides that they waive contingencies? The buyer, right? And so the whole point is the more educated she is, the better the process we're going to have. If I spend 20 or 30 minutes right now explaining to her how this all works, that's hours of time later that she won't be upset with me for. My last question, number 18. Can you share with me what are must-haves that you need in a home? And at this point, I'm going to do one of two things. I'm going to take her to the computer, and I'm going to sit in front of it, and we're going to take all of the things that she said she must have, and she's going to watch me put them into the system. And when that little number down at the bottom goes down to 3, what do you think she sees in that process?
Wow, very little inventory.
Wow, everything I wanted, there's only 3 homes. Does that mean she's going to bring up the home she saw on Zillow last week that doesn't exist anymore? No, because she watched me do it. The biggest problem I see with buyer representation and buyer's agents, you never show the client what really is happening. And so I could put this whole meeting right here on Zoom. And we could have this whole conversation by Zoom. And once it's over and she signed my agreement electronically, I can shift to share screen and I can show her how we search for homes. Because it used to be everyone thought that it's a mystical art that you search for homes, right? Oh my God, the realtor's behind their crystal ball finding my home, right? No, everyone has the same ability. Your buyers can go out and search our MLS, and we've given them that access. So why not be the person showing them what it looks like? Here's the other thing it does. If I told her everything that she wanted and it shows 3 homes, which homes are we seeing? Those 3. And if she's out looking at those 3, is she going to bring up anything else? No, because that's all that exists. Now, of course, I've told her that other things will come up, but what I've noticed is every time I do this with a buyer, we write an offer on one of those 3 homes. And usually, if we're lucky enough to get there, it gets accepted. This is the most easy way, in my experience, to work with a buyer. Any questions? What didn't you like? Data?
Doesn't the client have the right to fire an agent regardless of the BBA as long as it is in the writing?
So that's a good question. So client thinks that I'm a joke. I didn't do any of the things I said I want to do, and now they want out of the agreement. It's just like a listing agreement. It's a completely binding agreement. And so what would a client do if they wanted to fire me?
Put it in writing.
They go call Vaughn and say, this is horrible. The whole point about this is that at the end of the day, I work a business, right? And I don't make any money unless my business makes money. And so I don't make money off of upset clients. And maybe it was a bad personality conflict. Maybe we're the wrong people. We should never work together because we just can't get along. Just ask her fiance, he knows what I'm talking about. And so the best thing is for me to bring in Vandana and have Vandana find a better fit, and I get a referral fee. That's the same thing that happened with me and that other broker I told you about. It was a bad fit. So the best thing was for the broker to find a solution that worked. That's what Vandana is great at. That's what Brandon's great at. Make sense? No, we're gonna fix that. She already signed it. Here, I'm going to tell you the truth. If you're not practicing what to say when they ask about your transaction fee, you won't get yours. Okay? You got to practice it. Vonna, did you get your transaction fee every time? Do you have conviction in what you say? Do you feel really good about what you say? Yeah, that's the whole point. I only have 5 minutes, so I can't do it all here, but you go practice and find out 3 answers that are good answers that make sense to you that you can give any one buyer. And sometimes I've had to go down the road 3 times. The resort fee thing didn't make sense to one person, so I went down another one. Yep. 50% of the time, they will sign the agreement and not ask any more questions. That's what's funny.
I think a lot of it is by the time you get through all those questions, because you're actually building a rapport and you're building that trust factor, by the time you get to the BBA, they've already decided whether or not they're going to do business with you. Like even before you ask them to sign. So when Chris says about, hey, do you have any other questions? That's your moment to just shut up and wait for them to answer and then take that next step. A lot of us go, oh, automatically. You know, you want to build that rapport and you have to have good ears. You have to listen instead of just listening to yourself.
So the reason I brought Lizette up here to present this with me and to be my role play partner. By the way, give Lizette a round of applause. When Lizette started, Lizette said, I want to find the easiest way to do this, right? And I said, well, that's working by agreement. And so every buyer you represented so far, and there's been quite a few, Rookie of the Year over here, she's worked every single one of them by agreement. And guess what? I actually did an average commission amount. She makes more than most of the agents in the marketplace because on her buyer-broker agreement, she has her buyer on a regular basis, the last 3 times, have covered the difference between the commission offered and her buyer-broker agreement. No problem, no question. Buyer said, I'd do it again anytime. Is that the type of business you want? The type of business I want. Why does it happen for you? Tell us about
Well,
that.
I think it's the communication thing, but I think if we get out of our own way, because what I have found in dealing with some of the other, some other agents, buyers that I've been referred to, is they just feel that they don't want to actually charge that extra. But if you know what you're bringing to the table and you know your value, lots of times when you get done with that closing, and I just had this happen, they were asking me, well, why is this additional $6,000 here? And I was like, do you remember the conversation? And they're like, oh yeah. And in this case, it was a deal where they were supposed to pay the whole 3%, and then the other agents decided to bring it down to 2, so they only had to pay the difference of the 1. Everybody follow me with me? But when I talked to them after the fact, they were like, you know what, we would have paid the whole 2% for you. So why are you shortchanging yourself?
She
Have
said
a conversation.
$6,000, right? That's a big chunk of change.
So they would have paid the 12 because it was 1% co-op.
Do they always have the finances for that?
Some do. So here's the point. Here's the point. Is it my fault that my buyer is not able to buy? Is it my fault? Now, have I reduced my commission to help a buyer buy a home that wouldn't have been able to buy? I absolutely have. But who had the decision? I did. If you're going out doing whatever you need to do for somebody that's not committed to you, that has no plan and has no money, is that a good business decision?
No.
No, it's not a sustainable business decision, I'll tell you that. And in this market is the reason why we have buyer broker agreements. I wanted to have V talk a little bit, because V is an extremely seasoned agent that knows what she's doing. She does a great business. And Vonna, do you represent buyers without agreements?
No,
Why?
because it's always my time.
Because it's a waste of her time, and time is the one commodity you don't get any more of, right? But the whole point is, you look at the levels of agents that you go through, brand new, just a year and a half, 2 years in the business, using an agreement, getting what her value is. Over 20 years in the business, getting almost 20, we're about to get a magnifying glass. That's what they give you at 20 years. We're about to, I'll have to get off that joke. The point is that across the business, you want to get your value. And in this market, co-ops are going the other way. But the nice thing is if you work by agreement, it doesn't matter, right?
What if the buyer, the buyer says, I will sign that agreement with you, but it has to be property specific?
Agreement's not property specific.
The buyer brokerage agreement, he wouldn't sign it with me unless there was a specific property, because he's an investor, he's got choke agents, he has, each one of them brings him buyer broker agreements with the specific property. That's the only way he operates. I've since stopped working for him.
There you go.
There's your answer.
I didn't feel,
Who's the guy that worked with Jeff Foxworthy and his thing was, there's your sign? Right? That's it.
But that's not, is that legal though? He says,
The whole point is you, in the back of the agreement, you could add things in, but I'm going to tell you that that is a personal business decision that you would have to make, and I don't think it's a good one.
yeah.
The best thing I ever did is I had an investor like that was buying 15 homes a year, and he had all of these reasons why he needed all these other agents, and every deal was a crapshoot. I mean, it was crap and a crapshoot. Whether he was going to close, whether he was going to be committed, what was going to happen. And the day that I fired him was the best day I had in real estate. Because I found another investor that bought more property than he did that only worked by my agreement. who was 100% committed to me. That's clients you want, right? And so when you have to tell the story behind the why behind it, there's your sign. Any other questions? Was this helpful?
Yeah.
Good info? So I just want to put it out there real quick. Again, the brokers, all of us, are getting a lot of the frustrations that you guys are feeling in the marketplace with buyers out there trying to buy a home with such competition. And so the one thing I wanted you to take away from here today is that you don't have to do anything. You are the decision makers of your business, and I would not go out this door showing anyone anything at the price of gas without an agreement with them committed to me. Because if you don't, it'll be like an episode of Cheaters. They're going to be cheating on you with another agent. Don't let it happen to you. Have a great day.
Thank you.